let's talk about Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Let's all talk about Halloween, Silver Shamrock. The Thing from Another World from 1951. Scientists and the U.S. Air Force officials fend off a bloodthirsty alien organism while investigating a remote Arctic outpost. This was a first-time watch, and I really enjoyed it. It's a testament as well to the power of remakes, as well as their importance in cinema history, to be able to take stories that have already been firmly established and breathe new life into them, exploring new ideas and concepts by building on an already established foundation. That is what John Carpenter ended up doing with his remake to The Thing from Another World. It also further crystallizes the true brilliance of John Carpenter as a visionary to take the weakest elements of the original film and elevate them to a point where the remake surpasses the original. Now, generally, the rule of thumb is that any sort of remake is not going to be as good as the original, but man, there are a handful of films. There's a bunch of films. There are definitely exceptions to the rule. There's really a golden trifecta from the 80s of movies that are remaking 50s movies that are just beyond the gold standard, like the Mount Rushmore. Okay, there's 5 that for me that go on the Mount Rushmore of remakes, and they're all sci-fi horror. Okay, ready? It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers 1978, The Thing from 1982, of course, The Fly from 1986, The Blob from 1988, and Night of the Living Dead from 1990. These 5 remakes, remaking movies from the 50s and one from the 60s, if you include Night of the Living Dead, are the gold standard. They are just bar none. And it's funny how, you know, you have one film that's from 78 and one film that's from 90, but the remainder, they're all in the 80s. There was something in the water in the 80s that really sort of, crystallized for guys like Cronenberg and Carpenter and Chuck Russell, who would also go on to direct The Mask. Chuck Russell directed the Blob remake, which was co-written by Chuck with Frank Darabont, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Because I'm probably going to repeat myself. The point being is that these are movies where the original material, it's not that it's flawed. It's just that it's, there's so much room to explore. And these filmmakers took that material and continued to explore. Like, for instance, to bring it back to The Thing, case in point, the monster alien is so underwhelming. It's underwhelming in this film. At the end, the photographer accidentally tries to reason with the thing, and I think I would too, because it looked like it could be reasoned with. So, I thought that was really kind of like a flaw of this original film, which again, obviously is supposed to, it's kind of dealing with, themes of the Red Menace, right? In the 50s, everybody was afraid of communism, the Red Menace. And, of course, aliens were a great sort of vehicle to explore the fears of otherness, right? And The Thing, I would say is one of those films. So it's like that otherness really needs to feel like otherness in order to really grasp what the feeling was at the time in the 50s. And when you look at the creature in The Thing, it's just not that otherly. I mean, it's a weird looking creature, but it's like it's like the whoever designed the creature itself, like there was no sense of originality. It's just a dude with weird like lobster claw hands, and he's kind of a plant, and he absorbs blood, and it's just it's not scary. There's no stakes. There's no anything. And, everybody's, mostly afraid of it, except, one guy's like, I think I could reason with it. So it's like, and when I'm seeing him attempt to reason with it, I'm thinking, I too could reason with this thing, I think. And of course they couldn't reason with the thing. But what makes Carpenter's thing so terrifying is that there is nothing human or reasonable about it, right? Not only does it want to become us, and so it's like, again, when you think about the height of the Cold War, reflecting back, the 50s, there was the Red Menace, but then we're at the height of the Cold War in the 80s, a few decades later. I feel like Carpenter like re-examined that theme and just took it to such another level by creating a creature that's just so it's so incredibly disturbing. It's intelligent, and it's something that is beyond all human comprehension, and yet it wants to be us at the same time in order to survive. And so I really just feel like Carpenter, he cracked the code and he improved upon it. The other thing, it's just so otherworldly, and it really solidifies the fear and paranoia. And the thing that's missing from the original film is that there isn't as much fear or paranoia. You would imagine that the original would be banking on fear and paranoia as like a main theme, and that's something that like Carpenter would be kind of like copying out of playbook. But it's really an element, I feel, that Carpenter introduced into the story. It's not really prevalent. It's not really there in the original film. It's just not present. But there's plenty of it in the remake, and it's just lacking. So those are the two elements that are really lacking in the original thing. The monster doesn't look otherly enough, and there's not enough sort of fear and paranoia. At the end of the day, it's a great watch. It's very interesting to see. I love I love some of the 1950s tropes. It's funny. The bass looks a lot like the bass in the thing from the 80s. He has an electric blanket suit. One of the guys, I thought that was pretty interesting. It's kind of funny how they put an electric blanket on the icicled alien, and it causes him to thaw out. I thought that was pretty funny. It's definitely worth checking out if you've never seen it before. Listen, that movie served as the inspiration for not only just The Thing, but also Alien, so many things. So it is an important film, but it just, it's proto, man. It laid the groundwork. It opened the door so that other things could walk through. That's how I feel about it. So I gave it 3 stars out of 5. The Thing from Another World, streaming on Tubi TV.